I am St. Margaret of Scotland. I lived from 1045 to 1093. I was not Scottish by birth. My mom was, I was the daughter of Princess Agatha of Hungary. When I was 12, I was sent to the English court of Edward the Confessor and further educated. My father returned to England at the request of the king, and he brought me with him to become a successor to the throne. However, my father died and leaving me fatherless. And then war broke out of Hastings, and in 1066, and the Anglo-Saxon English lost to the Norman French. My family fled from William the Conqueror after his victory. My widowed mother set out to take me and my brothers north to Northumbria. Agatha decided to leave Northumbria and return to the continent, but however, my family ship got caught in a storm and was sent even farther north to Scotland. And Scotland, which is now known as St. Margaret's Hope. The Scottish King Malcolm III invited her family into the castle until their boat could be repaired. During their visit, Malcolm fell in love with Margaret. He asked her to marry him. Margaret asked Malcolm for time to think about this decision, although I too was falling in love with him. But I always believed that God was calling me to be a nun. After spending time alone in prayer, I felt God calling me to be a wife and a mom. So I said yes. During my marriage, me and Malcolm fell more deeply in love. Because of Malcolm's love for me, I was able to teach him the ways of God. People say that when I was walking home from church, I washed the feet of widows and let them into the castle. I also let orphans into the children and fed them and kept them into the castle. And I did many acts of help for the poor. I'm the patron saint for service of the poor. My feast day is November 16th. My quote is, "I thank you, Almighty God, for sending me so great a star to purify me from my sin." And I am also known as the Pearl of Scotland. And when St. Margaret and Malcolm walked home from the church, they washed the feet of homeless people and let orphans into the castle. When war broke out, Malcolm and her two sons went to fight. Margaret became ill. My husband and sons died. No one told me though. When they told me, I died 3 days later, holding this black cross in my hand. Why I have this was believed to be carved from the actual cross that Jesus died on. Any questions?
Hello, I am St. Nicholas. I lived about 1700 years ago. Whenever I was little, a sickness swept across my hometown, and soon my parents both passed away. And then I had to live with my uncle, who was the leader of a group of monks. And since my parents died wealthy, they gave me a lot of money, and I didn't use that. I didn't use that only for myself. I used it for other people, which reminds me of a guy who was trying to sell rugs. And I bought a rug, and I gave him more than I should have. And then a few days later, I'm pretty sure, I gave the rugs back to them secretly. And then I gave the rugs back to them secretly without them knowing. And then next reminds me of 3 girls who couldn't get married because of their parents, because that is called dowry. And so I felt bad and then one of the girls' room windows were open, and then I threw a sock full of coins into the girl's room, and then she found it, and then she soon got married. And then the next girl, I threw a sock of coins, and then she soon got married. And then the last girl, I couldn't find her room, and it wasn't open when I found the window wasn't open. So then I did what any other sneaky boy would do. I climbed up the roof and then threw it down the chimney, landing in the girl's shoes. And then soon after she got married, and then she told everybody about me, and then they all thought it was just some kind of miracle. And then I had this dream that Jesus was handing me a set of priest vestments I told my uncle about these dreams, and then he soon made sure to make me be a priest. He made sure for me to be ordained. And I was even more excited than ever to tell people about Jesus. My feast day is December 6th. I was born March 15th, 270. I died December 6th, 343. I died age 73. And I am the patron saint of children, sailors, archers, fishermen, and broadcasters. And here's where I live. Any questions? Okay.
Born on May 25th, 1887 in Pietrelcina, Italy. When I was 5, I dedicated my life to God. I showed remarkable recollection of spirit and showed gifts of grace. I died on September 23rd, 1968 in San Giovanni Rotondo, Italy. And September is my feast day. I was canonized at the Vatican by Pope John Paul II on June 16th, 2002. I am the patron saint of young people, civil defense workers in my birthplace, Pietrelcina. I also am the patron saint of stress relief and anxiety. I am one of the few saints that experienced the stigmata. The stigmata is the wounds of Jesus in his hands, feet, sides that bled for 50 years. Padre Pio, also known as Saint Pius of Pietrelcina, was an Italian Franciscan Capuchin friar, stigmatist, and mystic, now venerated as a saint in the Catholic Church. Born Francisco Forged, he was given the name Pius when he joined the order of Friars Minor Capuchin. Sanctuary of I am buried in the sanctuary of Saint Mary Our Lady of Grace, San Giovanni Rotondo, Italy. 5 important things about him. Saint Padre Pio had the gift of bilocation, where he was able to be in multiple places at once. The most famous claim is that he appeared in the sky over San Giovanni Rotondo during World War II. On September 20, 1918, Padre Pio received the stigmata while praying in church. They remained on his body for the rest of his life. The blood that came from Padre Pio's wounds is said to have smelled like flowers or perfume. tree referred to as the odor of sanctity. Saint Padre Pio saw and spoke with Jesus, Mary, and his guardian angel as a young boy. Saint Padre Pio was deeply connected to his faith starting at the age of 5. Any questions?
I'm St. Philomena. I died when I was 13 years old, and I am the daughter of a Greek king who converted to Christianity. When my father took me to Rome to make peace, the Roman emperor fell deeply in love with me. After he proposed and I refused, he attempted to kill me many times. He shot me with 3 arrows, and he drowned me with an anchor. But both times, angels came to my side and healed me through prayer. So, finally he had me decapitated. After I died, the remains of a young lady were found, and 3 tiles said, "Peace to you, Philomena." Also, after I died, many miracles were performed. The Mono miracle happened, which was that a little girl in the middle of the night had a heart seizure, but she was healed. And wounds were also healed, and headaches were cured. She is found with an anchor, 3 arrows, and a lily that symbolizes her modesty and virginity. Sometimes she is found with a fern that represents her martyrdom. Some fun facts is that Saint Philomena is not always considered a saint. She is a virgin and a martyr, and the only person recognized as a saint solely on the basis of the miraculous intercession. She had been a model of spiritual life for many saints, blessed and vulnerable. Any questions?
Go ahead.
Hello, my saint is Saint Andrew. His feast day is September 16th. He was born in 1821 and died in 1846. He was a patron saint of Korean clergy, and he died with no food, and he was tortured and beheaded. He was a martyr and died for his faith. His life story began in 1592 during the Japanese invasion. He baptized many Koreans, and he was the first Korean priest, and he was a priest when he was 21 years old. He was canonized in 1984 by Pope John II. Any questions?
What questions do you guys have?
Hi, I am Saint Aquinas. I was born on June 11, 588. I was also born at the capital, the Villa of the Capital, 6 miles north of Le Mans in Aquinas, now France. My father recognized my unusual talent and sent me to the goldsmith Bamboo. Later, I was sent to New Austria, the place of the Franks. There I worked under Bamboo, the royal treasurer, whom recommended Lothar II. From that, he committed himself to make a gold throne, and from that he made one piece of work and made it two. My feast day is December 1st, and I am a bishop. I died on December 1st, and I'm the patron saint of cattle and horses. Any questions?
Hello, I'm St. Lawrence. I was born on December 31st, 225. I died on August 10th,
258. My feast day is August 10th. As one of the 7 deacons of the city of Rome, under Pope Sixtus II, who were martyred in the persecution of Christians. The Roman Empire Valerian ordered in 258, after Pope Sixtus' death, the prefect of Rome demanded that I turn over the riches of the church. I asked for 3 days to gather the wealth. He worked swiftly to distribute as much of the church property as possible to prevent its being seized by the prefect. On the 3rd day, at the head of a small village, he presented himself to the prefect and ordered to deliver the treasures of the church. He presented the indigent, the crippled, the blind, and the suffering, and declared that these were the true treasures of the church. Oh, behold, these poor persons, the treasures which I promise is truly rich, far richer than your empire. The prefect was so angry that he had me set on a gridiron. After I had suffered pain for a long time, the legend concludes, I cheerfully declared, I'm well done on this side. You can flip me over. From this, it concludes, I delivered my pension of cooks, chefs, and comedians. I have a couple miracles. One's where a priest was rebuilding a church, and he hired a lot of workmen, and then one day he found himself, he looked into his basket and there was nothing, and then he prayed, and then he looked back in his basket, and there was a loaf of bread, a fresh loaf of bread. It seemed to him too small to feed the workmen, but in faith he began to serve it to the men. While he broke the bread, it so multiplied that his workmen fed from it for 10 days. Another one of my recorded miracles is when the medieval church of St. Mary assumed in the small commune of Mascio Lazio, Italian houses, the famous of the mind, naming a quantum of my blood, a fragment of my flesh, some fat and ashes. Tradition holds that new on my feast day, and sometimes on other occasions, the blood, the impure